Welcome to Break the Board Sports. I'm your host, RJ Cash, going over Monday morning quarterback. Click that like, hit subscribe. We already have our one show up for the day, breaking down Monday Night Football, an amazing NFL Sunday for us, 15-0 going into tonight. College football, not so much. So let's start right there. Again, breaktheboardsports.com. Go there. You can get all of our plays to R37 today. But what we're really about is helping you become a better handicapper here at Break the Board Sports. College football, Florida State falls to Virginia. And I got to tell you, when you're handicapping, the one thing that everybody falls victim to, even me, I fell victim to it this weekend, is we're always looking for the sure bet. And there is no sure bet. And that's why numbers and trends and handicapping is so important. Because this weekend in college football was a great reminder to me of how you can't take shortcuts in handicapping or in betting, right? Because you look at it and you say, Florida State's laying 7, right? Why is the line only 7? Because I want to tell you, and listen, all due respect, I understand Virginia won the game. Kudos to them. Not kudos to their fans. They showed themselves. This is why Virginia football isn't any good. They showed their rear ends, flicking off Castellanos, trembling a guy over top of a receiver in the NFL. Virginia University has no class, and you showed it because they're not used to winning, right? This win they just had, that'll be the biggest win they have for the next decade, right? And Florida State, I got questions whether they're even that good, okay? Anywho, but you look at it and you say 7, they're kind of baiting you, right? So doing the rewind, because here's what I think a lot of people fall victim to, and I used to fall victim to it, 15, 20 years ago, is I would lose and then I'm right on to the next one. Got to get the money back, right? Is you really need to look back and say, where did I go wrong in the bet? Because every bet you make, you got to be able to go to bed and say, if it lost, I still feel like I was on the right side, right? Like I would have made that bet 10 times over, right? And if you can look back and say, hey, I would have made that bet 10 times over, well, then fine, move on. You're not going to win, everyone. But this one really burned me because I said, you know what? I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to do this 2-team money line parlay. Florida State's only minus 250. Going to put them in there, right? And you look at Florida State constantly keep shooting themselves in the foot the whole game. And then even at the end, the kid drops the touchdown pass, right? Drops the touchdown pass. And so when I look at that, I say, yeah, Florida State had their chances. Yes, Florida State's still a better team than Virginia. But it's a good example of why you can't cheat and say, I'll just slide this little parlay in and it'll hit. And I say this all the time to guys I meet in the casino and all, they got their 10, 15-team parlays, and I get it. You see somebody on social media post that they had their FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever. They had their parlay, their 20-team parlay, and it hit $7 for 600,000. That's like you have a better shot of winning the lottery, right? That's really what it is they just won a smaller version of the lottery, right? If you want to play a parlay, pick you 1 or 2 or 3 team parlays. Hey, if you want to take $2 and roll on a $20 one, so, God bless you. But running a bunch of them is never going to work. And when I look back at this, you say, John, what are you trying to get to the point of? I thought the line was fishy in the beginning. And I went back and forth, but I still said, hey, I'm going to insert Florida State money line. I can see them win this game by 3-7, but they won't lose to Virginia. Hindsight 2020 should have one of 2 things. I thought the line was fishy, so I should have took Virginia or just stayed off of it. And I'll reiterate this, and you'll hear me say it 100 times over and over and over again. The biggest advantage we have as handicappers or bettors is we get to decide what we want to bet. Don't have to bet every game. Don't have to force the issue, right? So, again, just remembering that. But we did get the win, had Arizona State Friday night as well. Of course, that one was a sweater. Thank God I took it money line and not -3. That would have been a whole nother deal. One that I left on the table Friday night, Houston at Oregon State. I said Oregon State 13.5. That should have been 14.5, if not more. I said they were baiting you. Guess what? I should have bet it and listened to my own advice. Houston gets the win in overtime by 3, but the 13.5 would have covered easily. Ohio State 24-6 against Washington. Again, what that game showed me is Ohio State's defense is what it is every year, rock solid. I still got questions about them offensively, but the thing about Ohio State is their schedule is so soft, right? They got such a cupcake schedule because Texas was supposed to be good. They're not really good. And then Washington, Washington played them tough for a half. But when you look at Ohio State, they got at Illinois. Yeah. They host Penn State. Can't wait to talk about those losers. They'll drum Penn State because James Franklin's still the coach. And then when you look down through it, all they got is Michigan after that in Michigan. And so Ohio State, a very soft schedule. They're going to finish top 5 even with a loss. But they took care of business in this one. The under, I talked about that in our college football betting show that comes out on Thursdays. If you listen to that, hopefully you took the under in that. So Ohio State, they will stay atop the college football AP poll. Oregon and Penn State. And again, reminders. So handicapping and betting 101. You can't ever make a bet because you think the streak is going to end here, right? So case in point, even if I didn't like tonight's Monday Night Football game, go over, listen to our show. I gave out the Dolphins money line tonight. You say, how can you lay $1.50 with the Dolphins? Well, here's the thing. They beat the Jets 9 straight in Hard Rock. And there's going to be a tremendous amount of people that say, well, the Jets are due. The Jets are due. It's like in baseball. A team's won 9, 10 in a row, so you bet against them. How can you bet against a team that's won 9 or 10 in a row? Well, this is the one they're going to lose. I've seen people do that, and next thing you know, a team's ran off 14 or 15, and you kept doubling up. Oh, well, it's going to be today. Oh, well, it's going to be today. And then the day you don't bet, that's the day they lose. You can't bet on a streak ending. You just can't do it, right? And what I'm talking about as far as Penn State, James Franklin has never and will never win a big game in his life. He is incapable. He is incompetent. He has the job because people are soft at Penn State and they look at this, oh, well, they're 10-2 every year, 9-3, 10-2. We might playoff because you play in the Big Ten. Let's just get this straight. I want, fire shots at me if you like. The Big Ten sucks. The Big Ten sucks. It sucked my whole entire life. There's like Ohio State, Michigan, everybody else sucks. I'm told how good USC is. They suck. I'm told how good Illinois is. I watch them get their doors blown off by Indiana. I get told how good Iowa is every year. I get told there's the Marylands, the Rutgers, the Nebraskas that can't win. UCLA blows. Northwestern blows. Purdue blows. The Big Ten sucks. It sucks. Yes, they have one of right now, the best team in college football, rankings-wise. But Ohio State's a top 5 team every year. I'll give them their flowers. Michigan under Jim Harbaugh, top 5 team every year. Now, Harbaugh is gone. Michigan will be mediocre at best. Michigan will be hunting around the college football playoff, but Michigan is not winning a national title, nor even getting in the Final Four of the college football playoff ever again. Now that Jim Harbaugh is gone, unless he comes back, right? That's just the reality. And James Franklin showed again why he sucks. If you can't beat Ohio State, you can't beat Michigan, you can't beat Oregon, who you beating, guy? Who you beating? Who you beating? And all I hear is, Ryan Day drops 3 straight to Michigan, and he's 10-1, and people are still talking about he's on the hot seat. James Franklin never gets talked about. How does a guy that's never won a big game in his whole career at Penn State, he's been there like over a decade, and has never won a game of any substance? All I can think of is all the games he's choked the chicken away against Ohio State where he's had the lead, and going into the fourth quarter, James Franklin shows up, right? Dan Lanning outcoached him. Penn State had a couple hot possessions there at the end, but James Franklin's decision-making and coaching, and Drew Aller, dude, homie, take the chain off, right? You ain't cool. You're not cool. I get it. You think you're Jackson Dart or, one of these cool kids like when Baker came out. Drew Aller, bud, you're not even a top 20 college quarterback. Shut up, go sit down. Can't make throws, can't run. If you didn't have those two running backs in that big offensive line, Penn State would be like a 7-5 team. You suck that bad at quarterback. So Penn State, horrible call on my part. I thought if they were ever going to win a big game, I preached about the whiteout and Oregon's never seen it and blah, 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 blah. Penn State blows. Now, Oregon, on the other hand, Oregon I really, really like, right? The sophomore quarterback absolutely impressed me. Oregon is a team to be reckoned with. Dan Lanning's a top 5 coach in the country. I love his moxie. I love what he's got, that defense playing tough. So big things. I expect big things from Oregon. Next week, not this coming weekend, but the following, they host Indiana. That one's going to be a ton of fun because Indiana keeps collecting wins. Ole Miss, LSU, I stayed away from it. Really good game. Again, I got to say it, just like James Franklin, Brian Kelly. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, you're a train wreck too. LSU, they fall to Ole Miss. Bama, Georgia, right? This is a good one, how you can do all the handicapping you want. Georgia, catch the freaking flipping ball. Got to catch to go up 28-24, wide open touchdown, and the kid drops it. You got one job, catch the pass. Then Georgia gets down to the 11, and instead of kicking the field goal to tie it, Kirby Smart goes not too smart and goes for it. They fall 24-21. We had Georgia minus $1.30 for a double unit in that one. Alabama, I'm still not sold on them. I'm really not sold on Georgia either. Georgia should have covered that game. They should have won that game, but just not sold on them. Auburn, they got to cover against Texas A&M. Arnold kept them within the 7. There was actually a couple 6.5s out there, kept them within that. Indiana 20-15 cost some bettors that got the early 6.5, cost them with the safety at the end. We had Iowa plus 8.5, so that worked out. Iowa State was in our money line parlay. They roll. Tennessee wins by 7 in overtime. Mississippi State, we had Mississippi State plus 7.5. That comes in for the cash. Illinois, we had Illinois plus 7. They win outright 34-32. And again, just to tap on this one more time, people have got to stop calling Lincoln Riley like the second coming of Jesus Christ. Every time he's somewhere, they beat up on bad teams like Franklin. And all I hear about, Lincoln Riley, he keeps this up at USC. He's going to be a hot commodity for an NFL job. Why? Again, another guy at Oklahoma. Tell me what he did. Tell me what he do. What did he do? Since he's been at USC, what's he done? That's right. Nothing. Goes into Illinois and loses against a mediocre Fighting Bielema team. Notre Dame, my Irish, back on track. 56-13. They pound Arkansas in the 4.5. I had given Arkansas out in the 3-team 10-pointer plus 14.5. That backfired again. College football was not good to me this weekend whatsoever. A couple other ones. Utah, they bounce back, roll into West Virginia 48-14 as they get the win there. Looking ahead to this week, and can't wait to get in these. Today, we'll have out our weekday college football show. So that'll be all of Thursday and Friday's college football games. We'll be going over those and hitting upon those. Friday night, you got BYU laying 18.5 to West Virginia. Looking ahead to Saturday college football here for next week, and some interesting trends here, and just want to get everything back here refreshed for the weekend in college football. So Saturday, Georgia's going to be hosting Kentucky. Right now, Georgia laying 20.5. You're over under 48.5. Only 11% of bets to the under, but 66% of the money. So some under love coming in there. Cincinnati, very interesting. Iowa State ranked 14th in the country, undefeated. They go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been sneaky good. Right now, Iowa State laying 1.5 at Cincinnati. Interesting that one's that low. Again, be careful you don't get baited. Here's one I'm really interested in. Wisconsin. And Luke Fickell, go to Michigan. Michigan ranked 20th in the country. Michigan laying 60.5. Your over-under is 42.5. But look at these and just tell me, again, Sometimes the easiest thing to do in handicapping is look where everybody else is going and look at what's going on and be like, that just doesn't look right. Just doesn't look right. Again, Michigan and Underwood, the freshman quarterback, I think he's a good prospect and whatnot. But Michigan laying 16.5 is a little too much. 74% of tickets and 84% of the handle is on Michigan. Only 26% of tickets and 15% of bets are on Wisconsin. I hope the money keeps coming on Michigan. If I can get 17.5, that's definitely a play for Wisconsin. The over-under extremely low, 42.5, and the over is getting absolutely drummed right now. 88% of tickets and 90% of the handle is on the over. That automatically is going to make me go under. Again, one of the things I always talk about, whatever your threshold is, whether it's 10%, 20%, 30%, when something is getting that amount or less, a lot of times it ends up being an automatic play for me. Clemson, this line has jumped up to 14. Clemson laying 14 at North Carolina, over under 45.5. Right now, 73% of tickets, 87% of the handle on the Clemson Tigers. Only 27% of bets and 13% of the handle going to the Tar Heels and Bill Belichick. Clemson, any game that involves them, I'm just out right now. That Syracuse game left a bad taste in my mouth. North Carolina, I don't think they're very good at all, but I can't trust Clemson laying 2 touchdowns. And I definitely can't trust Clemson laying 2 touchdowns on the road. That one I'm just going to have to stay away from. Pros Joe's already showing up on a Monday morning. Big Ten matchup, Illinois at Purdue Saturday. And I've already circled this puppy. The trains are going. You'll see why. Illinois laying 8.5 on the road at Purdue, coming off that big, huge win for the Illini, hosting USC this week. Right now, 83%. Now, these numbers are extremely important, and we'll get into them Thursday too. 83% of the ticket count is on the Illini, and 45% of the money is on the Illini here. To top it off and go into it a little deeper, Purdue, they're only getting 17% of bets, but they're getting 55% of the handle. So remember, I always talk about this. When you have a lower ticket count and a higher handle, typically that represents sharps. When you have a higher ticket count but a lower handle, typically that's the public. And the reason why is your ticket count goes up because public's betting a lot of, $2, $5, $10, $100, as to where a sharp, they may come in, they're laying anywhere from a dime to $100,000, right? Just depends on where they're shopping at. The over under 55.5, 72% of the money to the over, 94% of the money to the over, which really is odd to me. And here's why it's odd. Let's go back to the spread first. Purdue plus 8.5, coming off of a bye. Illinois, a lot of emotion. Get drummed by Indiana. Come home, life and death, hit one at the buzzer for USC. I'm all about Purdue plus 8.5. I hope the line goes up even more. Purdue plus 8.5, one of my favorite plays of the weekend. But that over under 55.5, 28% of tickets on the under and only 6% of the money on the under. And here's what I would say to that is you had 32-31, 63 points scored, only 8 more points in USC's offense, a whole lot more potent. I would look to the under here. When you talk about 55, right? Let's go off and say it's a close game, right? 27-24 is at 51. It gets there for you. 30-24 is 54. It gets there for you. 31-24 still gets across the finish line for you. As always, forgive my dogs. They hate Amazon and Postmen with a passion. But when I look at this, Purdue in the under, I'm looking at the under, but definitely Purdue plus 8.5 is a play. Kansas State at Baylor. Baylor laying 6.5 over under 61.5. The only thing there of real discrepancy, it's about 70-30, 70% and 70% of tickets and 70% of handle on the home team in Baylor there. Kansas State finally a win at home, but I still don't think you can trust them. This Kansas State team just looks all out of sorts, not what I thought they would be. Another game that's interesting that I circled. I want to see how the line moves. Texas San Antonio at Temple. Now, look, there's been people all over Temple the past couple of weeks, right? Cover against Alabama, cover against Georgia Tech. I'm like, man, they're playing these extremely better teams. A team with the same record as them. Now, Texas San Antonio is a good team, but Temple at home, Temple catching 6.5, and Temple's only getting 34% of bets, 10% of handle. So it's some that attracts my eye right off the bat. If I can get Temple with the whole touchdown, the extra point at 7, give me Temple in that one. So I just want to wait that out. Again, the only thing in pocket is Purdue plus 8.5, but Temple, one of those games I'm looking at early in the week here. Oklahoma State, new head coach, still travel to Arizona. Arizona laying 19.5. No way I can touch a game with Oklahoma State right now. Virginia, coming off of that huge win against Florida State, where Florida State just didn't come to play. Virginia goes to Louisville. Louisville won by 7 at Pitt. Now Louisville is laying 7 at home to Virginia, and everybody's all over Virginia. 75% of tickets, 68% of the handle. Dead spot here, right? You got a favored team getting low ticket count, 25%, low handle, 32%. I'm just here to tell you, Louisville in a 2-team teaser or in a 2-team money line parlay, Louisville is going to win this game. It's not going to be Virginia. Too much emotion, too much high. Now you're asking them to bounce right back at Louisville. Not going to happen. Louisville wins the game. Now, 7, I don't know about that. But definitely, if you're running a 2-team teaser or a 2-team money line parlay, hook Louisville up in one side of that. Washington goes across the country to Maryland. They're laying 5.5. Be very careful. Emotional spot. Maryland's been putting up some points. I think this is a tough spot for Washington. They could be on a little bit of an upset alert here at Maryland. JMU, be careful laying 19.5 on the road at Georgia State. Couple others here. Penn State goes on the road. They're laying 24.5 at UCLA. So you got a big emotional spot versus Oregon. You choke it away because James Franklin's your head coach. Now you're going to go all the way across the country to UCLA and play a meaningless game, and you're going to lay 24.5. 82% of tickets, 92% of the handle is on Penn State. UCLA only getting 18% of ticket count and 8% of the handle. Now, UCLA, I know they're no bargain whatsoever, and there's not really a big look ahead as Penn State hosts Northwestern the following week. I just don't know any way in which you can lay 24.5 on the road. Texas laying 7 on the road at Florida. Listen, if you can get a 7.5, grab Florida for sure. Listen, I know Texas is supposed to be God's greatest gift. Florida's lost some tough ones in a row. Now they're going back home to the swamp. I think that's a tough ask for Arch Manning. I'm not sold on Texas. If you can get a 7.5 with Florida, definitely a grab there. Vanderbilt undefeated, 16th in the country. They're catching 10 at Bama. Now remember, Vanderbilt gave them the upset at Vandy. Vandy's getting 72% of tickets, 89% of the money. Again, only 28% of tickets, 11% of the handle for Bama. I think, again, 3-team 10-pointer or some kind of money line parlay situation. The fact that Alabama's at home, you might say, yeah, what about the emotion? Well, the emotion's not going to count in this one because Alabama's got revenge on their mind with Vanderbilt. I think Alabama gets this thing done at home. Vanderbilt, their run-ins, they really haven't played anybody in this one. Notre Dame laying 19.5 to Boise State in South Bend, 72% of tickets and 72% of the handle on Notre Dame early and often. Nebraska, Michigan State, this game was 11.5. It's dropped to 10.5 already. I still can't believe Nebraska is laying that many points to Michigan State. I think they're a pretty evenly balanced matchup here. I would grab the points with Michigan State, but hey, let's see how the week rolls on. A line that is short, and I believe it's short purposely. Texas Tech at Houston, okay? Texas Tech's laying 11.5. They're getting 79% of bets, 91% of the handle. The game should be 14.5 or more, right? You got an interstate rivalry, Houston life and death, overtime win against Oregon State. You say, how could you possibly take Houston? 21% of tickets, 9% of the handle. If that line doesn't get jacked up to Houston over 14, I'm telling you, don't take the sauce with Texas Tech. You're going to be sorry. It smells stinky. Just want nothing to do with it. UNLV at Wyoming. I want to break this game down more as the week goes on. We'll really get into this Thursday. I think Wyoming +6 here is a live dog. I know UNLV's looked impressive, but just I think there's some more there. Ohio State's at home against Minnesota. Ohio State laying 23.5, currently getting 92% of the money compared to just 8% of the money for the Golden Gophers. The big game Saturday night, the biggest of the biggest, Miami and Florida State. And again, my, how things change because of a game against Virginia. Miami was a 6.5-point favorite. It's all the way down to 4.5, despite them getting 69% of money or bets and 72% of money, only 31% of bets and 28% of money to Florida State. Florida State, listen, I think they're live in this game. They didn't take Virginia seriously. They're back home. Miami, they've beat the Notre Dames. They've beat the Floridas. But I think this is their toughest test yet because they're going against a rival on the road at night. Florida State or nothing here with the points. This may be where Mario Cristobal shows up and cost them one, but I can definitely see 24-20, 27-24. So Florida State 4.5. I would have liked a better 6.5, buy it up to 7, but 4.5 still a play here. We'll get into this game more. Let's see how the line moves during the week, but we'll have a really good breakdown of this on Thursday. Mississippi State catching 14.5 at Texas A&M. Texas A&M ranked 6th in the country, slowly and quietly. Elko and company moving up the chain. Duke at California. You get a late night West Coast game. Duke laying 2.5. They're getting 76% of bets, 87% of money. Be very careful. Duke, this could be a tricky spot for them as they roll into Cal. Definitely. Want to go back to that Texas Tech Houston game real quick. Texas Tech 5-1 against the spread their last 6 versus Houston, 6-1 straight up. So again, just some things to kind of look at there and be cautious of. Michigan State 1-8 against the spread their last 9, 2-9 ATS their last 11 versus Nebraska. We'll get into that more. So a lot of stuff here. Florida, we talked about them in Texas. Texas 16-4 straight up their last 20 and 11-1 straight up their last 12 on the road. But we talk about ATS. Texas just 1-5 ATS their last 6. Florida 10-4 against the spread their last 14 games. I know the line's down to 7 in most places. Lay yourself $1.20, $1.25. Go ahead and lock Florida in plus 7.5. I think you're going to be really, really happy with that bet once you make it. We talked about Illinois' Purdue. We already locked in Purdue plus 8.5. I'm giving it out now. Illinois 8-1 ATS their last 9, along with 8-1 straight up their last 9. But against Purdue is what's important. Against Purdue, Illinois 4-8 ATS the last 12 against Purdue. The game's in Purdue. Purdue, so far, my favorite play of the week. Again, Break the Board Sports. Click that like. Give us a subscribe. Going to get into the NFL here. And I got to tell you, man, we had to sweat that Rams game out, but finally came in for us. Rams get the cover, 10-unit play on them. Just a huge, huge win. But, man, that thing was nip and tuck there for a while, a little closer than I would like it to be. Steelers get the win over in Ireland. Steelers starting to get to be just sneaky team here, especially when you look. The Bengals without Burrow, they're not going anywhere. The Browns suck. The Ravens are down to 1-3. Pittsburgh here, good runway. Aaron Rodgers might have a steel curtain call going on here with Pittsburgh. The Giants, again, if it smells like a rat, bet it. Chargers laying 6.5 this week. All the money was on the Chargers. The line never went to 7. That's why I say take the Giants in the teaser. I didn't have the balls to do it outright, but listen, you just need to go. You're going to win like 80% if you take those teams that are getting very little money and the other side, Chargers, the highest ticket count of the week, highest money count, places like MGM and all. You're just better off taking the other side. You're not going to win them all, but you're going to win like 80, 85%. Again, It's not about what you think. It's about the numbers, what they say, the trends, the angles. And look, being on the side of the sports books is a good way to go because they don't build them for free. They build them off of the public losing. Texans, they get back on the run. We had them in a teaser with the Rams and the Bucks. They take 26-0. Falcons was a game I gave out there at breaktheboardsports.com. You can click on the package, $1.37 a day. 34-27 over Washington. Again, I said Washington, a very flawed team. I actually like the Chargers this week at home to bounce back. They're hosting Washington, whether it's Jalen Daniels or not. Give me the Chargers. Saints, they cover the 15.5, losing by 12 to the Bills. Bills, one of the two remaining undefeated teams, along with the Eagles, who got the win 31-25 as Baker's magic stalls. The Lions, 34-10, they get the cover. Lions, right where I thought they'd be. You know, everybody freaked out after the Packer loss. Just one game. New coordinator's going to take them a little bit to get going. I'm telling you, Detroit's a very dangerous team. Might get that Super Bowl. Detroit Buffalo. I want Detroit Buffalo just so one of those poor fan bases get put out of their misery and get a Super Bowl trophy. Patriots, easy cover. They were laying 5.5. They beat the Panthers 42-13. Again, just goes to show. Panthers walk the dog like 30-0 on the Falcons. So everybody's like, Falcons are bad. Here comes Bryce Young. Very next week, Panthers get just absolutely gutted by a Patriot team that's not that good. And the Falcons beat a supposedly good Washington team. Again, betting the NFL, you have to really, really make sure that you don't include anything in your handicapping, maybe 10% from the previous week. You got to take a full body of work. If you're just looking at what happened last week, you're going to get destroyed as a bettor because recency bias is where bettors go to die. Bettors go to die there. Be very careful. Avoid that. You can't fall into those traps. Jaguars, they get the win 26-21 outright as a 3.5-point dog. Rams, we talked about that. 10-unit play. It was the game I loved more than any game so far this college NFL season. First time I'd given out a 10-unit play, gave it out even before the Penn State-Georgia debacles. They get the win 27-20. Chiefs, Ravens in all kinds of trouble. They were the favorite. Again, Chiefs getting very little of the handle. That line froze at 2.5. It was just begging you to take the Ravens. Again, be smart. Get in a quiet place. Let the line sink in. Write your own lines first, and then compare them. Be like, hey, this sounds off, right? And the money's going all one side, I'll go over here. But people very down on the Chiefs, but the Chiefs get back Worthy. Now they get back Rashee Rice is coming back into the fold. Chiefs, they're going to do what they always do, hit the gas button and soar off. Their Bears, they get the outright win over the Vegas Raiders. And then the biggest mockery ever, a tie, 40-40, Packers, Cowboys. Just a pathetic thing to have ties in the NFL. At least college plays it out till somebody wins. Look ahead lines. We've given the 49ers out in some teasers. Go check out our other short we had Monday doubleheader breakdown. Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos. We threw the 49ers in there some. And we'll have a short out tomorrow on just the 49ers, Rams, breaking that down. Right now, Rams are laying 3.5 to the San Francisco 49ers at home. You're over under in that one, 47.5 for another European game, Vikings and Browns. The Vikings laying 3.5 some spots all the way up to 4.5 in others. It's in London now, so they make the trip from Ireland to London. Cleveland's got to go all the way across the pond there. Texans at the Ravens. Ravens right now 6.5-point favorite. I'm not sure what's going on with Lamar, but I think even with Lamar, that's too many points. Houston's always played Baltimore tough. Those are two teams that have always played each other extremely, extremely tough. Giants at the Saints. Giants only a 1.5-point favorite. Gives you reason to pause there. They come out with the outright win against what some people thought was a top 3 team in the Chargers. Now they're only laying 1.5 at New Orleans? Be very careful. I feel like a lot of people are going to run to the window and bet the Giants. We'll see how that one ends up going there. Denver Broncos at the Philadelphia Eagles. Very interested in this one. I think especially what happens tonight. We'll see what happens tonight in that Denver and Cincinnati game. But the fact right now, Denver catching 4.5 at Philadelphia will be interesting. Colts laying 6.5 at home to the Raiders. The Raiders just look god awful. I mean, that team's just bad. Not even Pete Carroll, who I think is a really good coach, not even Pete Carroll can fix that team. Miami will go to Carolina. Miami will be laying 1.5. That line could change depending on what happens in their contest with the Jets. Cowboys laying 2.5 at the Jets in this one. Again, that line could change after tonight's game. We'll see how that goes. That Giant line also just popped up to 2.5 there on the Saints. And Ravens must be good news on Lamar. I haven't caught it yet. Been recording some shorts, doing some studying, but that line is bloomed up to 9.5 at DraftKings. Titans at the Cardinals. Titans catching 9. If it goes to 10, I'm going to have a triple unit on the Titans. Cardinals shouldn't be laying that many points to anybody. Seattle at home laying 2.5 to Tampa. Can Tampa keep from losing back-to-back matchups? Seattle coming off the long rest. Sam Darnold versus Baker Mayfield, two guys that have faced a lot of adversity in their NFL career, will hook up. Lions laying 8.5 on the road at Cincinnati. Again, that line could change after tonight's game. Chargers Commanders, I told you I like the Chargers already. Chargers laying 3. Patriots at the Bills, opened up 10, down to 8.5 there as the Bills laying 8.5 at home on Sunday Night Football. And then Monday Night Football, Chiefs laying 3 at the Jags. I fully expect this one to be 3.5 or 4 by the time it closes. If you like the Chiefs, I think you go ahead and play the Chiefs now, because I think this is the best you're going to get the number as a Chiefs fan. If your handicapping takes you to, hey, the Jacksonville Jaguars, then I think 100% you wait, because you're going to get a better number on the Jaguars for sure. 7-point teasers kind of looking ahead for the week. Again, I know a lot of people don't like them. I've had a tremendous amount of success. Some people don't like laying the $1.40 to $1.50, depending on where you shop for it. But look, a win is a win. I like San Francisco taking them up to 10.5 in a 2-team 7-point teaser. I think that's extremely good value. And then obviously, how could you not like the Colts taking them down to win against the Raiders? Again, click that like, hit subscribe. If you like our plays for the week, try them out for $10.99. If not, you can have the whole year for $1.37. BreakTheBoardSports.com. Click that like. We'll have more shows out today. Check out our Monday night doubleheader show. I'm your host, RJ Cash. God bless and happy handicapping.